What's going on there, folks? Good evening. It is the Earthmaster back here on this end of the weekend. Unfortunately, it is Sunday night. I know we got Monday coming around the corner, but please don't blame me. Okay, please don't blame me. It's Monday. Coming up really close here. It is 10:54 p.m. Sunday night, California time. Taking a look at the latest activity out here across the global earthquake USGS map here. Well, shows a little bit of activity out here around Reno. What's going on out here around Reno? Actually, more specifically, out around the Lake Tahoe area. Goodness. Got a 3.4 coming in earlier this evening in a linear fashion out here across Kings Beach area. That 3.4 coming in pretty shallow at about 1.9 kilometer deep or so. It was felt broadly across the region of the Sierra Nevada basin out here, including areas around South Lake Tahoe area, Reno and Carson City area. And that it's a little bit somewhat surprising out there, considering, let's see which fault system that struck on. It looks like maybe some various faults out there across the Lake Tahoe area. If you guys remember back I'm thinking it's about 2 years ago or so now, we had a little bit of earthquake swarming underneath the Lake Tahoe area specifically. But this area that we're seeing right now around North Lake Tahoe area is a sign of West Coast increasing pressure out here. Obviously, this is where the pressure builds up inland, right? Off of the plate boundary. And it looks like that has pretty much struck out here across the north area of Lake Tahoe. So we'll continue to watch this. Again, 3.4. Not for certain if we'll see anything bigger out here or not, but that's where the activity is kind of striking out there in the last 24 hours. Also, Pacifica making itself known out here on the map. This area is absolutely beautiful. If you look at the social media, if you look at any social media out there concerning Pacifica, whether it's photographs or vacation activities out there, Pacifica is your heaven station, so to speak. It's pretty much a where you go to from the city to relax and enjoy some Pacific views. But goodness, I couldn't think of a worse place to be when it comes to the danger zone on the San Andreas Fault. I'm not even joking. Pacifica is it's probably going to go down eventually one day as an area that has been inundated by a major tsunami. But that's just, it's probably a hardcore fact. Sometimes people don't like the facts out there, but that's going to be, similar to what we've seen back there in the 2011 Japan tsunami. Okay, Pacifica, right smack dab on the coastline right there. One day, when we see a tsunami out here across the Pacific, it's just, that's a fact. That's a fact, ma'am. So earthquake activity occurring out there today. Further down south, well, it's a handful of earthquake activity across the southern portion of the state. Nothing major going on for now, 1.1, but that's, I'm not going to call that a major earthquake. I'm not even going to call that a minor earthquake. But we're noticing a little bit of very small minor earthquake activity across Southern California. The main increase in activity is a linear fashion out here across northern Lake Tahoe area. And of course, that strain up here is an indicator of West Coast pressure movement out here across the Pacific and the North American plate. So let's double check the tremor map out here tonight. The tremor map. What do we got for tremor? All right. Well, that doesn't really concern Northern California at all. Look at that. Most of the activity, 385 epicenters confined up there around the Vancouver Island range and looks like northern Washington. portions up here, down here, I should say, around Oregon as well. But looks like a slight uptick in activity out there. Did see, of course, some numerous earthquakes up here across the northern edge of the Cascadia subduction zone. This could be, who knows? We might see a 9-pointer tomorrow. Who knows, right? This could be an indicator out here of some West Coast pressure activity building up across the Cascadia. We've seen a large-scale earthquake movement here over the past couple days across the northern edge of the Cascadia subduction zone. Obviously, that has played a little part up here across the area. The question is, how much will it take to see a large-scale movement earthquake across the Cascadia? You never know. It's very similar to the San Andreas Fault, right? It's a trigger zone. You just never know what type of earthquake activity may trigger the big one out here. But for now, quite a few earthquakes out here across the Queen Charlotte Sound and up along the northern edge of the Cascadia subduction zone. We'll continue to watch that and monitor that for sure. As far as earthquake activity goes, because that... I'm right smack dab in the middle of all that. I need to know what's going on, so I'm going to keep you guys advised of that. Up into the Alaska region, mostly smaller microquake activity out there across the Denali area, southward into Anchorage. But for the most part, this is very typical there across the plate boundary of the Aleutian Trench. 4.5 into the Kuril-Kamchatka, the very northern edge of the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. That earthquake coming in earlier this evening, about 10 kilometers deep. This area, I'm gonna say I'm honestly expecting this to produce a major, large-scale earthquake pretty soon. You cannot have a major subduction zone with major accumulated stress up here. Look at this area up here. We're talking about major back building here from the Eurasia plate, the North American plate, and the Pacific plate here. That area is very primed for a very large earthquake out there across the Kuril-Kamchatka. Watch this area pretty closely. It's been a little while. It does not take hundreds of years or 20 or 30 years to build up major strain out here. It takes probably only about 10 or so to see some major earthquake strain out here across the Kuril-Kamchatka Trench. This is, look at it. This is very similar to what you see across any major subduction zone, the South America Trench area and areas across the Tonga region. But I don't know. I think this is a little bit more prominent. I would not want to be out here experiencing a large-scale earthquake. And I think it's coming up soon. How soon? That will be in the question. In the equation, so to speak, right? I got my brain wrapped around physics right now. I'm trying to study astronomy, mastering astronomy, and literally my professor there that's teaching my class has me brushing up on physics and major mathematics, which I am not a good fan of. I hate mathematics when it comes to equations, and I'm pretty much down to the level of quantum physics, the equation, so to speak. And oh my goodness, I don't even know where to begin. I've had my head wrapped around numerous equations over the weekend. I got something due on Monday tomorrow morning, and Missy Mimi's has been helping me with it a little bit, but it's mathematics. I get it. Astronomy is revolved around physics and mathematics, but wow, it's one of those things. I guess I have to study when it comes to I wish I could say it's algebra, but it's not. It's well above that, way above algebra. We're talking about physics and something that's... I wish I could discredit it, but it's part of my course, so I have to continue the studying of it. Anyway, figuring I would share that mathematical equation with you guys because I've been overloaded with mathematical equations recently, and that's chaotic. I'm not even joking. 4.9 out here around the Philippines, but what does math have to do with earthquakes or astronomy? Well, that's a question I thought in my head, but I figured if I asked that, I might get kicked off of my course. Everything revolves around mathematics and equations and stuff like that. You got Kepler's law, everything, Newton's law, everything revolves around mathematical laws. So I can't question my professor out there. I just can't. Although I wish I could, but I just won't do that. All right, South America region here. Well, not South America, but Africa area, Tanzania. 4.3 earlier this morning, it looks like, just outside of the rift zone. We've been seeing a little bit of uptick out here, away from the rift zone area, and obviously that strain building up upon the intercontinental, or this intraplate, I should say, intraplate area away from the rift zone, right? This is a divergent boundary applying strain across this area. So these are interplate earthquakes, and that's obviously expected, right? If you think about it, the strain building up across this area, separation of this rift zone, applying strain across the region of Tanzania. Further up north, we got a 5.1 northern Italy. That's somewhat of a larger earthquake being reported there by the USGS. And in fact, that was reported as a yellow on the pager system there. So a little bit of uptick kicking up there across the area of Italy. Down there in the South Sandwich Islands area, this earthquake coming in afternoon time period, it looks like. Yep. Been pretty active out here across the subduction zone. This is pretty much a horseshoe area of a plate boundary. Let me show you guys here the past, well, we can go the past 30 days or so of activity, and we can pretty much see what may fill in. Activity mainly striking up north and then working its way down south here across the South Sandwich Trench. There's a couple areas that may show some movement here. That includes this area just right up here, in between these regions of earthquake activity. And keep an eye on that. That may show up here potentially in the coming days. All right, what else we got here? I'm a little bit distracted on everything that's going on. Hawaii is just Hawaii. The Big Island and the Kilauea volcano is continuing its thing. There's no major abnormal activity occurring across the area. So I'm going to move on here and focus primarily on some space weather activity occurring here on Monday night. Now we are expecting potentially a G2 class solar storm here. Now that's why this area here is in the kind of the darker yellow color here, orange color maybe, right? Kicking up here on September 19th. Let's look at the detailed forecast here. Monday night, we're expecting KP index up around the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Pretty much, right? The 6th category. So that means a G2 class storm expected there across mainly the higher latitudes. Now this is kind of a forecasted event. Whether it holds true or not will remain to be seen. I'm a little skeptical on these aurora events out here. A lot of times they forecast a G3 class storm, G2 class storm, and nothing happens. But this is basically an event from a filament eruption that popped off here a couple days ago. Earth-facing filament eruption. You can see this on the YouTube video for solarham.net if you want to check this out. I'm not going to go to it, but we did see a filament eruption that was Earth-directed, and that is obviously charged plasma, and that's, it's Earth-directed. So it's almost like a CME, so to speak. And, there's a lot of, I'm not even joking, fear-mongering going on over this event. They're talking about a large-scale major event expected over North America. Aurora seen down to Wyoming. It's like, okay, this is normal. If we look at aurora forecasts, we normally see auroras down there on any specific event down into potentially the Wyoming area, Montana area, North Dakota. But a lot of people are like, there's my chance, folks. Let's fearmonger this beyond belief. I'm not even joking. So I seen that floating all over Facebook. These guys are like, they had a huge red circle out here. And I just want to smack myself over the head a couple times because I want to smack a little bit of sense in the people that are fear-mongering this. There is no major expected solar weather event. This is just I would say, minor to moderate event here for the solar weather activity. But a lot of people, they take a grain of sand and make it into a brick of concrete. I'm not even joking. So, it's one of those things. I can't control people's thoughts. And for the folks that are watching this channel, I just want to give my thoughts in it. You can compare my thoughts, my evaluation, with those that may be evaluating a different data aspect of it. But, it's all about perspective, right? That's everything. Everything's about perspective. I'm not even joking. Life is about perspective. All right, let's check out the latest magnetogram image here. And if you remember our very active sunspot here, look at it. It's disabled. It's pretty much, yeah. You can put a big major X out here across this area. That was a source of major M flares and some C flares over the past week or so. But it goes to show you how very quickly these sunspots can deteriorate and turn into absolutely nothing at all. And that's just been the case over solar cycle 25. Far as around the eastern limb, we're kind of watching that out there across that area. I don't think we're looking at anything major going on. Right now, we only have a 95% chance of the C flare, M flare at 20. X flare remains at about 1% chance. I'll have to update my categories here, but G2 storm. We'll watch that. Okay, it's been forecasted here recently, and we've seen similar. We kind of seen similar events out here in the past, and this hasn't come to pass. We haven't seen that G2 storm kick up like it would. So this is a forecast here by the Storm Prediction Center. We'll see how it plays out. Again, I don't know. That filament that erupted here a couple days ago was pretty much Earth directed. But it's a hit miss. It's a hit and miss type of scenario with this filament eruption. But I'm basing my observations here. I'm probably thinking that we may see a G1 class storm, but nothing up to a G2 storm category. But we'll see. Again, we'll see how it plays out. Okay, this type of solar weather event is very sensitive, and we can't really call that 100%. All right, Storm Prediction Center. What's going on? Nothing. Absolutely nothing going on in the Storm Prediction Center until in a couple days or so ago. Looks like maybe some slight weather activity kicking up. But all right, let's go ahead and look here. Thermal dynamics. What's the word thermal dynamics? What do you think that means, right? It means the overall temperature difference here across areas of the, at least in this case, the states, right? Look at Southern California getting in on some cooler weather out here. So there is some troughing going on here across the West Coast, bringing some cooler, drastically somewhat cooler temperatures than average here across the area of the Pacific Northwest and California. That includes me, thank God, because I've had enough of the 100-degree temperatures. I'm not even joking. If I see another 100-degree temperature reading out here in my neck of the woods, I will pack up my bags and I will head to Alaska. I promise you that. I'm not even joking. That's a fact. I keep my word. There better not be a 100-degree temperature out here in Northern California for the rest of the year, or I'm moving to Alaska. I might have to kick up a GoFundMe account up there, but or maybe some members out here might benefit to my moving. But I'm not a big fan of the 100-degree temperature out here. And it looks like temperature differences over the next couple of weeks or so shows some troughing continuing out here across the western coast. And that's good news, because I really don't want to pack my bags. I do like the cooler temperatures out here. And you know what? El Nino is my buddy. And that means that we are looking at potentially some much needed precipitation out here across the west coast because of the El Nino pattern. El Nino. And believe it or not, the last year here was the triple dip La Nina. We've seen 3 La Ninas in a row, and we had one of our wettest winters out here across the California area. Major snowfall. So I'm kind of interested in seeing what the El Nino does. Right? We went from a major flip of La Nina to a very strong El Nino coming up this winter time. Very dynamic setup here across the California area, and I'm kind of interested to see how it takes part. All right, folks. I'm a little bit scattered brain here. I've me and Missy Mimi's have studied astronomy here across the school I'm going to, but I had no clue that involved major physics, major mathematical proportions beyond what I ever studied before. And I'm not even joking. Never taken an astronomy class. It's so crazy. Astronomy involves physics, and I'm tired. Not even joking. I'm so worn out right now, but I guess it's all worth it, right? I think. I'm all kind of studying towards my master's in physical science. That's what I'm studying towards, physical science. But physical science involves much more than your typical earthquakes, volcanoes and stuff like that. It involves astronomy, geography, geology, stuff like that. So it's a major physical degree that I'm studying, and it takes a lot of hard work, and that's why I'm studying it in my master's. And it's a headache, folks. I'm just telling you that right now. But do what you got to do, right? You have to do what you got to do, and that's what I'm doing here on this channel. All right. I think that's about it here. Looking at the information here. Again, we really haven't seen any major further uptick here across the northern edge of the Cascadia subduction zone. That's definitely been an area of interest out here since earlier this morning. But we may, we may see this evolve around this area again. If you look here, if I could put this into motion, we've seen activity start up north, wrapping its way down south, and working its way around the plate boundary. It looks like maybe things may be kicking up back here across the northeastern edge here of the plate boundary of the Pacific plate. But we'll continue to watch that for the Cascadia subduction zone. It's been quite an interesting day. I need to figure out a model to see the earthquakes in motion out here, right? Because plate motion does show obviously up along an image, and we can see earthquakes pop up along the plate boundary, work its way across the plate boundary, and then come back around. And those areas that are hit across the plate boundary are very informational in terms of creating that dynamic setup there when it comes to watching the earthquakes around the plate boundary, so to speak. So I got to figure out a way to integrate that into the earthquake 3D globe. I just can't figure it out yet. I'm studying physics, but I'm not quite that smart into integrating the motion around the plates out here. But anyway, folks, we'll catch you guys back here sometime tomorrow. It's Monday, I guess. Monday. Who wants to hear the word Monday, right? I probably don't. But, it's the start of a new week. Make the best of it. We'll catch you guys back here sometime tomorrow. And then we'll go from there. Have a good night, everyone.